Kamala Khan continues her journey with the second episode of the new Disney Plus series, and she still has a lot to learn. This week, the teenager has to deal with learning to use her new powers, dodging the Department of Damage Control, and helping her cousin run for office. Let's break down the episode and talk about the Easter eggs, hidden details, and fun references you may have missed. We are briefly going back on episode 1 because some fresh information gives some new context. When Kamala puts on the bracer sent to her by her grandmother, she experiences a vision of a place filled with strange ghost-like people. Thanks to the story Kamala learns about her grandmother, we now know what this is. During the partition, a real-life event where Pakistan was separated from India by the English, Kamala's grandmother, then a very young girl, was lost in a train station during a mass evacuation. She was lost until she supposedly followed a trail of stars to safety. Kamala's vision is of this station, as you can see the train here and the people on top waiting to escape on it. It's possible she is seeing this from the perspective of her grandmother, and this event has more to it. I can't say for certain, but I do know that Mr. Khan is a hell of a storyteller. Kamala's comic powers are once again referenced when she's talking to Bruno on the way into school. She says that she tried a variety of things, including shrinking, to no effect. Shrinking is in fact one of her original powers, which she would often use to get into tight places. She is inflating her fists to gigantic size, however the hard light that makes up her powers has some weight to it. Actually, going into her new powers a little more. Bruno helpfully explains to both Kamala and the audience that her newfound abilities aren't in fact given to her by the antique bracelet. Rather, the piece of jewelry acts as a conductor that unlocks and channels the powers inside of her. While the ability to make large, stretchy fists remains the same, Kamala's show-specific power set gives her the new ability to make floating platforms that she can run and climb on. She uses this new skill to sort of save the young selfie-obsessed kid at the end. Don't worry, Kamala, he's mostly intact. How about something that is comic accurate? When Kamala decides to attend Zoe's party, she is offered a drink and told it's orange juice. Only after she drinks it does she learn it also has vodka. This is taken exactly from the first issue of the comic. In fact, this whole party is for the most part taken from Miss Marvel #1. And in the comics, it's the place where she gets her powers from the Terrigen Mist. In the show, Avengers Con took the place of this small high school party. Kamala has two very sudden visions during the course of this episode, and both seem to be of the same person. Oh look, and there she is in the flesh. This is the mysterious Najma. Little is known about who she is and what she wants with Kamala, but there are a few potential clues in this episode. First are the visions themselves, the first of which happens when Yusuf is telling the story of the partition. When Kamala sees the mysterious woman, there is also the faint sound of a train whistle, and the fog creeping in could be steam from a train engine. If this figure is Najma, it could indicate that she was at the train station during that story. Could she have been the one who created the trail of stars for Kamala's grandmother to get to safety? If so, it means she is unaging, or at least able to hide her true age. There's also evidence that Najma may be related to Kamala, which makes her attraction to Cameron a little icky. Najma may, and I say very cautiously, may be Kamala's great-grandmother. Earlier in the episode, Kamala hears about her great-grandmother from several people. All of them speak of her as if she was a disgrace and brought shame to her family. I will definitely be cycling back to this possibility with the next episode, but given the many times the train station has been referenced, it's more than likely we will eventually see what happened firsthand. Young love is a grand thing, and it makes Kamala want to sing her heart out. When she meets a very attractive older boy, she finds herself love-struck and unable to keep from singing. The musical sequence is set to Be My Baby by the Ronettes. This is a pretty influential song in the history of music. The same song is featured in the opening of the classic teenage romance film, Dirty Dancing. This legendary film is about a teenage Jennifer Grey who falls in love with her dance instructor, played by peak hotness Patrick Swayze. Kamala is clearly hoping for the same thing with Cameron, who has also agreed to instruct the teenager in driving. Unfortunately for Kamala, it looks like her relationship to the older boy won't work out like Baby and Johnny. Let's take a closer look at the mysterious bangle that has unlocked the power inside of Kamala. Supposedly it's some sort of family relic that has been passed down. It's found its way into a box of old junk from Kamala's phone-inexperienced grandmother. There is Arabic writing on it according to Kamala, and several times it seems to activate on its own to give her inopportune visions. There is one comic-based possibility for this bracelet. It might be one of the Kree Nega Bands. The bands are a set that when worn unlock the power inside a hero. They can also occasionally send the wearer to the negative zone. There are a few sets of Nega Bands hanging around, so it's possible one of them ended up in India hundreds of years ago. The Kree have been visiting Earth for a long time. Those sneaky blue boys. Back to Kamala's first high school party. When she arrives, she is wearing a distinctive checkered hat with fuzzy ear flaps. This is the same hat that her comic counterpart wears at several points in the first issues. It's another nod to the comic accuracy of this scene, and Kamala wears the hell out of it. When Mr. Wilson tells Bruno that now is that time, he is making a very clever reference to the biggest Marvel film of the year. Time features prominently in the 2022 box office smash hit, Morbius. When the distinguished Dr. Michael Morbius growled those now iconic words, it burned into the culture forever. It's Morbin time. Yes, Miss Marvel could even feature a future appearance from the vampire scientist. Kamala could even have appeared in the Sony mega hit because somehow Morbius is the first movie to sweep the box office without anyone seeing it. At the height of Kamala's first public act as a superhero, she received some instant praise. There's a flurry of social media posts, with some lasting only a few frames. A few notable ones include some confused posts about pizza and ice cream, and a few tweets including the hashtag Jersey Superhero and hashtag falling for her. I know she's really badass, but let's keep the thirst tweets where they belong. Hashtag America's ass. Kamala and Nakia attend mosque and illustrate the divide between how men and women are prioritized. The crumbling women's side spurs Nakia to run for the mosque board, and their conversation creates some irritation for the imam. This scene and conversation is directly taken from the first issue of Miss Marvel, where Kamala and Nakia have the same basic conversation. Some of the dialogue is even verbatim. Episode 2 of Miss Marvel features several aspects of Muslim life and culture. I won't pretend for a second to speak with any sort of authority, so I encourage people to share more information in the comments. I can talk about a few things I learned, and because I'm a grown child, one of them is a new swear word. When Kamala and Nakia are discussing which group she will need to secure the vote of, there are several funny names involved. One is the Mini Harami girls. Haram loosely translates as sinful or more generally bad. However, Harami translates as a specific word. Yes, Nakia is calling them mini bastard girls, or more appropriately, little bastards. Given their behavior in the quick shot of them, it may be an apt title. Swear words are fun. The other term that is prominently featured is Eid Mubarak. The banner and term isn't for a specific occasion, but rather a more general term that means blessed feast or festival. It's a catch-all way of saying something like Happy Halloween or Season's Greetings. For a person who feels about as comfortable at big events as they do at the dentist, I would love a catch-all term I can just say to people and walk away. When Kamala saves the kid with questionable food choices, she dismounts from her floating portal and performs what Deadpool calls a superhero landing. It's another indication of how much she has practiced her superhero cosplay. But in this case, she didn't get the inspiration from Captain Marvel. She seems to have crossed the classic Black Widow with a little hint of Spider-Man. I'll elaborate further when I'm finally allowed to make top 10 superhero landings for ScreenRant. As of this series, we have now been introduced to all three of the Marvels, and they share a commonality. Carol, Monica, and Kamala all have distinctive eye glows with their individual color. Carol, of course, has the bright yellow of her cosmic powers. Monica is more orange with almost a deep red. Looking kinda like a Sith there, Monica. Kamala has her now distinctive purple glow. When we see all three together in the Marvels, expect a moment where all their eyes glow in unison. Episode 2 gave us a wider look at Kamala's life and her friends and family. She still has a lot to learn about how to save someone without dropping them onto a car, but her heart is in the right place. Who is the mysterious Najma and what does she want with Kamala? what really happened all those years ago. Miss Marvel returns next week, hopefully with some answers. I also return next week, but until then, I'm off to read more about Thomas Edison's bird clone.